What if I told you there's an ancient philosophy over 2,000 years old that holds the secret to staying calm in chaos, finding purpose in struggle, and thriving no matter what life throws your way? Imagine a system of thinking designed to give you control over your mind, built specifically to withstand hardship, to cultivate resilience, and to cut through the noise of everyday stress. This isn't some trendy self-help formula. It's a way of life, meticulously developed and followed by people who had no option but to face real challenges, war, political upheaval, and personal suffering, yet emerged with a clear sense of meaning and peace. This philosophy is Stoicism, and despite its ancient roots, it's having a moment of extraordinary popularity today. But why? Why has Stoicism, a philosophy born in the streets of ancient Athens and Rome, become a buzzword in our world of high-speed internet, social media, and endless distractions? To understand the why, we have to first understand the what, so let's dive in. Stoicism is, at its core, a philosophy of personal empowerment through inner peace. It was founded by a man named Zeno of Citium, around the 3rd century BCE, in a bustling marketplace in Athens. Zeno wasn't born a philosopher. He actually found his path to Stoicism through disaster. After losing everything in a shipwreck, he wandered into a bookstore, where he discovered teachings on resilience and virtue, and those words spoke to him. It was this pivotal moment that sparked the creation of Stoicism. What followed was a legacy of deep-thinking philosophers: Epictetus, a former slave-turned-sage; Seneca, the Roman statesman and playwright; and Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome. Each of these thinkers added something unique to Stoicism. Epictetus taught that even if we lose everything material, we still hold one priceless thing: control over our minds. Seneca emphasized that living a life of virtue and moral integrity is more valuable than any position of power. And Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the known world at the time, used Stoicism to govern his life and his empire with humility, self-discipline, and wisdom. So, what did these Stoics believe? Stoicism teaches that life is unpredictable, filled with events outside our control. Instead of trying to control these events, Stoics focus on mastering their own responses. At the heart of Stoicism lies a simple question: what can I control? This question cuts right to the core of how we see the world and ourselves. According to Stoicism, we can't control what others think or do, we can't control the weather or the economy, and we definitely can't control every outcome of our actions. But we can control how we respond to all these things. We can choose our attitude, our values, and our actions. This is the Stoic dichotomy of control, and it's incredibly powerful. This mindset, the ability to accept what you can't change and focus on what you can, is what many people today find so appealing. In a world full of stress and uncertainty, Stoicism offers a map for navigating the chaos. When we're bombarded by news headlines, overwhelmed by social media, or dealing with personal struggles, Stoicism gives us tools to stay calm and purposeful. And maybe that's why it's become so popular in our time. The Stoics teach us to focus inward, not outward, to define ourselves not by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond. They teach that true strength comes from inner discipline, and that a meaningful life isn't one free from challenges. It's one where we rise to meet them. Now, it might sound a bit abstract so far, but the Stoics were extremely practical. They broke down complex ideas into clear principles that could be practiced every day. One of the most famous ideas is apatheia, or emotional resilience. This doesn't mean being emotionless. Instead, it's about keeping our emotions in check, not letting anger, fear, or envy control us. Imagine that, a life where your peace of mind isn't shattered by the first setback of the day. The Stoics trained their minds just as an athlete trains their body, through daily practices, exercises, and reflections. And even today, this ancient mental training can be seen in modern practices like cognitive behavioral therapy, resilience coaching, and even performance training in sports. But if all this sounds idealistic, it's worth asking: does Stoicism still hold up in today's fast-paced, competitive world? Is it really possible to live by these principles, or is this just another fad that'll fade away with time? We'll explore all of that in this video. From Stoicism's core teachings to its rising influence on social media, mental health, and even productivity culture, we'll uncover why this ancient wisdom is not just relevant but thriving in our time. So sit back, keep an open mind, and maybe by the end you'll see why Stoicism isn't just another trend, but a powerful, time-tested approach to living a resilient, fulfilled life, no matter what the world throws your way. Let's dive into the heart of Stoicism, breaking down some of its core principles and exploring why they resonate so deeply with us today. One of the most powerful ideas in Stoicism is the concept known as the dichotomy of control. This principle is simple on the surface, but once you understand it, it can fundamentally change how you approach life's challenges. The dichotomy of control teaches us that there are two main categories of things in life: those we can control and those we cannot. According to Stoicism, the only things truly under our control are our own thoughts, actions, and responses. Everything else, what others think of us, the weather, world events, even outcomes of our efforts, is ultimately beyond our control. The Stoics believe that by focusing solely on what we can control, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress, frustration, and disappointment. Think about how often we get stressed over things we can't change: traffic, people's opinions, unexpected obstacles. By shifting our focus to what we can influence, we take back our peace of mind. For the Stoics, this isn't just a mental exercise, it's a daily practice. They'd wake up each day and remind themselves, I will face things today that I cannot control, and that's okay. For example, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius would reflect on the difficulties he might face, preparing his mind to respond calmly no matter what. He knew he couldn't control others' actions, but he could control his response. And that's where he found his strength. Another central Stoic concept is called apatheia, or emotional resilience. Now, before we get the wrong idea, apatheia doesn't mean being cold or emotionless. Instead, it's about achieving a balanced state where emotions don't dictate our actions or overwhelm our reasoning. Stoics believe that emotions like anger, fear, and envy are natural but can become destructive when they spiral out of control. Imagine feeling angry without letting that anger control you, or feeling disappointed without letting it ruin your day. That's what Stoic resilience looks like. In our modern world, this kind of emotional resilience is more relevant than ever. We're bombarded by messages telling us how we should feel and react. Social media shows us an endless stream of things we could be jealous of, frustrated by, or worried about. Stoicism offers an antidote. Instead of reacting impulsively, Stoicism teaches us to pause, reflect, and choose our responses carefully. For many people, this ability to keep calm and steady amidst life's chaos is one of the main reasons they're drawn to Stoic ideas. Now, we can't talk about Stoicism without mentioning the idea of virtue, the Stoic belief that living a good life means living a virtuous one. To the Stoics, virtue is the highest good, and it's not based on wealth, status, or comfort but on qualities like wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline. The Stoics believe that if you live by these virtues, you'll find a sense of peace and fulfillment that external things can't provide. In a world where so much value is placed on material success, this perspective offers a radical shift. Stoicism tells us that no matter our circumstances, we can always choose to act with integrity, patience, and courage. And for the Stoics, that's what true success looks like. This focus on virtue might sound idealistic, but the Stoics weren't naive. They knew life would throw curveballs, they knew loss and hardship would come, but they believed we could still respond to those challenges with dignity. Seneca, one of Rome's most famous Stoic philosophers, taught that it's not what happens to us that defines us, but how we respond to it. This idea, that our response is what truly matters, is at the core of Stoic philosophy and has become one of the most widely applied Stoic principles in modern self-help. The last principle we'll touch on here is memento mori, or remember that you will die. Now, this might sound dark, but for the Stoics, it wasn't about fear. It was about perspective. They saw life as fleeting and precious, and by reflecting on the fact that life is temporary, they believed we could focus on what really matters. When Marcus Aurelius would reflect on his mortality, he used it as a reminder to treat each day as a gift, to make the most of his time, and to not waste energy on trivial concerns. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get lost in the hustle and forget what's truly important. The Stoics remind us that life is short, and we should focus on living meaningfully. This doesn't mean avoiding ambition or goals, but it does mean being mindful of where we invest our time and energy. When we live with a memento mori mindset, we're reminded to be present, to appreciate the people around us, and to act according to our values, knowing that our time here is limited. So, what do these principles, control, emotional resilience, virtue, and the awareness of mortality, have to offer us in today's world? Quite a lot, it turns out. In the face of constant stress, overwhelming choices, and a flood of distractions, Stoicism offers a way to ground ourselves, to live with clarity, and to approach life with a steady mind. It teaches us that while we can't control everything, we can always control ourselves. And in that control we find freedom. As we move forward, let's explore how these ideas are not only surviving but thriving in today's culture. From best-selling books to Instagram quotes, from therapy practices to corporate boardrooms, Stoicism has found new life in the modern world. But why now? What's behind this revival? In the next part of this journey, we'll dive into Stoicism's surprising rise in the digital age and its influence on self-help, productivity, and even mental health. Let's take a look at some key reasons why Stoicism has found such a devoted following today. One major reason is that we live in an era of constant change and uncertainty. Global events like economic downturns, environmental crises, and the recent pandemic have highlighted just how unpredictable life can be. Stoicism offers a path to cope with these uncertainties. Instead of trying to control things beyond our power, like world events or the opinions of others, Stoicism teaches us to master our responses, to focus inward. In times of stress, Stoicism provides a sense of stability. It gives us tools to deal with change, which in our fast-paced, volatile world is a skill people crave more than ever. Stoicism is also incredibly practical, and this has a lot of appeal in our results-driven society. The Stoics were known for turning philosophy into action. They believed that knowledge was pointless if not put into practice. Today we see this practicality reflected in various ways. Consider how Stoic techniques like focusing on what we can control have influenced modern cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. CBT encourages people to manage their thoughts and emotions by focusing on their responses rather than on external triggers. This practice has helped millions of people manage stress, anxiety, and depression, which highlights the relevance of Stoic teachings in modern mental health. Then there's the digital revolution. In our age of social media, information overload, and constant comparison, Stoicism offers a refreshing counterbalance. We're constantly exposed to images of success, wealth, and beauty, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and envy. Stoicism teaches us to turn our focus inward, to base our self-worth not on what others think or what we own, but on how we act and respond to life's challenges. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within, from living in alignment with our values. In a world that often pushes us to seek validation outside of ourselves, Stoicism reminds us to find strength from within. It's no surprise then that Stoic ideas have spread rapidly on social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Influencers and content creators frequently share Stoic quotes, offering their audiences reminders to stay calm, focused, and resilient. For many, these small, digestible pieces of Stoic wisdom serve as daily affirmations, guiding them through the pressures of modern life. And although some might criticize the quote culture around Stoicism as oversimplified, these snippets of wisdom still resonate deeply with people, reminding them of what truly matters. But Stoicism's popularity isn't limited to self-help and social media. It has also found a strong foothold in business and leadership. High-pressure environments like startups, corporations, and financial markets demand resilience and level-headedness, qualities that Stoicism cultivates. Entrepreneurs, CEOs, and athletes have turned to Stoicism as a way to stay calm under pressure and to focus on their own efforts instead of obsessing over results. This is why books like The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, which applies Stoic principles to overcoming challenges, have become so popular among business leaders and high achievers. They're using Stoicism as a performance tool, a way to thrive in stressful, high-stakes situations. Yet, while the influence of Stoicism in these areas is undeniable, it also raises an interesting question. Is Stoicism being used today in ways that deviate from its original intent? Some critics argue that modern interpretations of Stoicism have become too individualistic and results-oriented. Ancient Stoics emphasized community, ethics, and living a virtuous life, not just achieving personal success. They believed that a Stoic's duty was to serve society and to act with justice and integrity, not just to be productive or resilient for its own sake. So, while today's use of Stoicism to enhance productivity and resilience is beneficial, it's worth remembering that these ideas were also intended to inspire people to live ethically and to contribute to the common good. And that leads us to an essential point. Stoicism is not about escaping emotions, nor is it about suppressing our humanity. In today's hustle culture, there's a temptation to use Stoicism to become a sort of emotional superhuman, to never be fazed or distracted. But the Stoics didn't advocate for a robotic, emotionless life. They believed in facing life's difficulties with courage and grace, not in pretending that hardships don't affect us. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled a vast empire and faced countless challenges, reflected on his own vulnerabilities, his fears, and his worries. He saw these not as weaknesses to hide but as parts of the human experience to accept and work through. Real Stoicism is about building resilience, not about becoming unfeeling. So, why has Stoicism become so popular in our time? In a world of fast changes, mounting challenges, and high expectations, Stoicism speaks to a deep need for inner stability, for a sense of agency, and for the ability to find peace regardless of our circumstances. It reminds us that even when life feels chaotic, we can always choose how we respond. It encourages us to cultivate a strong inner foundation based on values and virtues, to focus on what we can control, and to live meaningfully and with integrity. And perhaps this is why Stoicism has stood the test of time. It's not just a philosophy for the ancient world. It's a blueprint for anyone seeking purpose, resilience, and peace in any era. Let's start with a fundamental practice: the morning reflection. For the Stoics, each morning was an opportunity to mentally prepare for the day ahead. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome, would start his mornings by reminding himself that he'd encounter people who were difficult, selfish, or even hostile. But instead of letting these expectations make him feel bitter, he used them to build resilience and acceptance. By mentally preparing himself for life's inevitable challenges, he was able to maintain calm and respond thoughtfully. You can do this too. Each morning, take a few minutes to consider the challenges you might face that day: unexpected setbacks, stressful meetings, or even small frustrations. Picture yourself handling each situation with patience and composure, focusing only on what you can control. This simple exercise helps you build a mindset of calm expectation, rather than being thrown off by every surprise. Another powerful Stoic exercise is the evening review, a way to reflect on the day's events and assess how well you lived up to your values. Seneca, one of the great Roman Stoics, would end each day by reviewing his actions and thoughts. He would ask himself questions like, what did I do well today? Where did I let my emotions control me? How could I have responded better? The goal here isn't to judge or criticize yourself but to learn and improve. This reflective practice helps us understand our own patterns, areas where we're struggling, and what we're doing right. It's a simple way to develop self-awareness and make progress toward becoming the person we want to be. In our busy lives, taking just a few minutes at the end of each day to reflect on our actions can lead to profound personal growth over time. One of the most unique Stoic exercises is negative visualization, also known as premeditation of evils. This exercise sounds a bit odd at first, but it's actually quite powerful. Negative visualization involves imagining potential losses or setbacks in your life, not to dwell on fears but to build gratitude and resilience. For example, think about the people or things you value most: your family, your health, your job. Now, imagine what life would be like without them. This isn't meant to be morbid or depressing. Rather, it's meant to help you appreciate what you have right now. By acknowledging that nothing in life is guaranteed, you can cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for the present moment. And if something does go wrong, this practice can help you face it with more acceptance and less shock. Negative visualization is a reminder to cherish what we have while we have it, understanding that everything is temporary. Then there's the Stoic practice of voluntary discomfort. The Stoics believe that by occasionally stepping outside our comfort zones, we strengthen our resilience and better prepare for life's inevitable challenges. Seneca, for example, would sometimes practice sleeping on a hard surface or wearing simple, uncomfortable clothing. His goal wasn't to make life harder than necessary, but to remind himself that he could endure discomfort if he had to. This exercise is a way of saying, I don't need luxury to be happy, and I can face hardship if it comes my way. In modern life, this could look like giving up certain conveniences for a short period, taking a cold shower, fasting for a day, or spending a few hours without your phone. These small acts of discomfort help us build mental toughness and remind us that we can be okay without constant comfort or luxury. Stoics also emphasize the importance of living according to virtue, which they saw as the ultimate goal of life. For the Stoics, virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline were the foundations of a meaningful life. They believed that if we focus on developing these qualities, we will be better equipped to face any challenge. Living virtuously doesn't mean striving for perfection, but rather aligning our actions with our values in each moment. In practice, this might mean speaking up for what's right, even when it's hard, or choosing to act with patience when others are difficult. It's about treating others fairly, even if it costs us something, and maintaining integrity, even when no one is watching. For the Stoics, these small, everyday acts of virtue were where real strength and peace of mind came from. The beauty of Stoicism is that it doesn't require a dramatic lifestyle change. These are small, practical exercises that fit seamlessly into modern life. And by bringing Stoic principles into our daily routine, we can build a strong inner foundation that keeps us calm, focused, and fulfilled. One of the biggest misconceptions about Stoicism is that it's about suppressing or ignoring emotions. People often assume that being Stoic means being emotionless, unfeeling, or even cold. This idea isn't entirely unfounded. The word stoic has come to mean someone who doesn't show or react to emotions. But in truth, Stoicism is not about being detached or indifferent to emotions. The Stoics believed that emotions are natural parts of the human experience. They didn't suggest that we deny our feelings or pretend that we don't have them. Instead, Stoicism teaches us to manage our emotions thoughtfully, rather than letting them control us. For the Stoics, the goal wasn't to be unfeeling. It was to develop what they called apatheia, which translates to emotional resilience or tranquility. This concept of apatheia involves being able to experience emotions without being overwhelmed by them. Imagine feeling anger but not letting it make you act impulsively, or feeling sadness but not letting it consume your day. Stoicism doesn't require us to be robots. It asks us to master our emotions so that we can act from a place of wisdom and calm. Marcus Aurelius himself experienced fear, grief, and frustration, but he used Stoic practices to keep his emotions balanced, allowing him to act rationally and compassionately. Another misconception about Stoicism is that it's passive or fatalistic. That Stoics believe we should accept everything that happens without taking action. This interpretation is understandable but misses the nuance. Stoicism encourages us to accept things beyond our control, but that doesn't mean resigning ourselves to fate in a passive way. In fact, the Stoics were some of the most active, driven individuals of their time. Epictetus, who was born a slave, gained his freedom and went on to teach philosophy. Seneca was a statesman who worked to advise emperors, and Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire with responsibility and courage. Stoicism does not discourage action, it encourages purposeful action. For the Stoics, accepting what we can't control is simply a way to focus our energy on what we can control, our decisions, efforts, and responses. Stoicism teaches us to act according to our values, not to wait for life to hand us what we want. This is an empowering approach, reminding us that we are responsible for our actions and attitudes. If we're unhappy with our circumstances, Stoicism doesn't suggest that we sit back and accept defeat. It urges us to take the reins, to make wise choices, and to live in alignment with our values regardless of the outcome. Another common misconception is that Stoicism is selfish or hyper-individualistic. Because Stoicism places a lot of emphasis on personal control and inner peace, some people interpret it as a philosophy focused only on the self, detached from society. But Stoicism is actually deeply ethical and community-oriented. The Stoics believed that true virtue includes acting with kindness, justice, and generosity toward others. Marcus Aurelius spoke often about the interconnectedness of humanity, urging himself to think of yourself as a citizen of the world. Stoicism teaches us that our actions should serve not only our own inner peace but also the common good. In fact, Stoicism's focus on virtues like justice, courage, and wisdom underscores its commitment to community. A truly Stoic life is one lived with consideration for others, acting ethically even when it's inconvenient or challenging. It's about finding balance, taking responsibility for our own actions and responses while recognizing our shared human experience and working toward a better world. So, Stoicism is not a path to selfishness or isolation. It's a way to develop ourselves so that we can positively impact the lives of others. Finally, some people believe that Stoicism is just another form of toxic positivity. The idea that we should always look on the bright side and ignore difficulties. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Stoicism doesn't deny that suffering exists, nor does it insist that we stay positive no matter what. Instead, Stoicism asks us to face life's challenges head-on, to acknowledge hardships, and to accept the difficult emotions that come with them. Stoicism is not about sugarcoating reality, it's about seeing reality clearly and responding to it with strength and clarity. By clarifying these misconceptions, we can see that Stoicism isn't about ignoring emotions, becoming passive, or living in isolation. Stoicism is a philosophy of action, resilience, and integrity. It teaches us to stay grounded, to approach life with a clear mind, and to act according to our deepest values, even when the world around us feels chaotic. It's a way to cultivate peace not by denying life's hardships, but by learning to face them with courage and grace. One of the most notable modern examples of Stoic resilience comes from the world of sports. Take the story of NFL quarterback Tom Brady, who has frequently credited Stoic philosophy as a key part of his mental game. Brady, known for his relentless discipline and focus, has spoken about using Stoic principles to manage the pressures of his career, from handling the intense scrutiny of the media to overcoming injuries and setbacks. One of Brady's go-to Stoic concepts is the idea of controlling what he can and letting go of the rest. When the outcome of a game is out of his hands, he reminds himself to focus on his own actions, his training, and his mindset. This Stoic approach has helped him stay calm under pressure, maintain focus on his goals, and ultimately become one of the most successful athletes in sports history. Brady's story is a powerful example of how Stoicism can enhance performance by helping us concentrate on the process, rather than getting caught up in results. In the business world, we find another interesting example in Tim Ferriss, a best-selling author, entrepreneur, and one of the people largely responsible for bringing Stoicism into the mainstream in recent years. Ferriss has openly talked about how Stoic practices helped him overcome periods of depression and anxiety. One of his favorite practices is negative visualization, imagining the worst-case scenario and realizing that, if it happened, he would be able to handle it. This practice has allowed him to face risks with more confidence and manage the fear of failure, which is especially valuable in the world of entrepreneurship, where uncertainty is a constant. Ferriss has said that Stoicism taught him that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality, a lesson borrowed from Seneca that reminds us to stop worrying about things that might never happen. By using Stoic practices to manage fear and anxiety, Ferriss has been able to take bolder steps in his career and inspire others to do the same. Another powerful story comes from the world of the military. Jocko Willink, a retired Navy SEAL officer and now a well-known author and motivational speaker, is a passionate advocate of Stoic principles. During his time in combat, Willink faced high-stakes decisions, intense pressure, and the constant possibility of danger. Stoicism's emphasis on self-discipline and control over one's mind became invaluable tools for him. One of his core principles, which is deeply Stoic, is the concept of extreme ownership. The idea that we should take full responsibility for everything within our control. By embracing this mindset, Willink not only navigated the challenges of military life but also became a leader others could rely on, a person who took accountability for his team's success and failures. Today he teaches this Stoic-inspired mindset to others, showing how extreme ownership can be a powerful tool for personal and professional growth. These stories reveal something important. Stoicism isn't about achieving perfection. It's about building a mindset that allows us to face adversity with courage, resilience, and wisdom. Each of these individuals encountered hardships, doubts, and moments of fear, but they used Stoic principles to find clarity and strength. Stoicism helped them shift their focus from what they couldn't control to what they could, whether that was their own mindset, their daily actions, or their response to challenges. And by doing so, they transformed their struggles into opportunities for growth. The common thread in these stories is the Stoic ability to find stability in the face of uncertainty, to stay grounded when life is chaotic, and to make the best of whatever comes their way. Whether it's an athlete dealing with the pressure of competition, a business leader facing risky decisions, or a single parent trying to make ends meet, Stoicism provides a set of tools for anyone who wants to live with greater resilience and integrity. But Stoicism doesn't just help us deal with the big challenges, it also has a way of transforming how we approach the small, everyday annoyances of life. When we're stuck in traffic, frustrated by a coworker, or disappointed by a plan that falls through, Stoicism reminds us to let go of our need to control everything. It teaches us that our peace of mind comes not from having a perfect life, but from learning to respond to imperfections with patience and calm. As we can see from these real-life examples, Stoicism is a powerful guide for living in today's complex world. It's not about shutting out emotions, achieving some superhuman level of calm, or living in isolation. It's about taking each moment as it comes, responding with wisdom, and staying true to our values, even when life gets tough. Building a Stoic practice isn't about perfection or adhering strictly to every Stoic rule. It's about integrating these principles into your life in a way that feels authentic and meaningful to you. Start with 1 or 2 practices, observe how they influence your mindset, and build from there. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. And in that response lies our strength. By embracing Stoic principles and practices, we can create a life of greater purpose, compassion, and stability, even in an unpredictable world. Stoicism is a lifelong journey, one that doesn't promise perfection or an escape from hardship, but rather equips us to face life with resilience, clarity, and a commitment to inner growth. To be a Stoic is to embrace a mindset that sees challenges as opportunities, views emotions as guides rather than obstacles, and values actions over words. It's about living in alignment with our principles, striving to be better every day, and finding peace in the knowledge that we're doing our best with what we can control. One of the most beautiful aspects of Stoicism is its accessibility. Stoicism isn't reserved for philosophers or scholars. It's for anyone who seeks a life of purpose and resilience. This is why it has resonated with people across centuries and why it continues to inspire so many today. Whether you're facing a major life challenge or simply trying to make sense of the everyday stresses of modern life, Stoic principles provide a framework that can help ground you. Stoicism teaches that life's hardships are not to be avoided but embraced, as they present us with a chance to grow, learn, and deepen our understanding of ourselves. Living with a Stoic mindset means constantly reminding ourselves of what truly matters. It means taking time to reflect, to assess how we can improve, and to let go of unnecessary worries. When we live with these intentions, we create a life of meaning, one that doesn't rely on the approval of others or the accumulation of material wealth. Instead, we build a life based on self-mastery, integrity, and a deep appreciation for what we have. One important thing to remember is that Stoicism doesn't require us to be flawless or to avoid mistakes. In fact, Stoicism recognizes that mistakes and setbacks are part of the human experience. The Stoics encouraged us to treat every misstep as an opportunity for reflection, learning, and growth. So, if you find yourself struggling with a Stoic practice or reacting in a way you wish you hadn't, don't be discouraged. Instead, use it as a moment to learn more about yourself, to recommit to your intentions, and to strengthen your resolve. Stoicism is a philosophy meant to be lived, not simply understood. As we've discussed, you can incorporate Stoic practices in big ways or small, from starting a daily journal to practicing gratitude, from reframing challenges as opportunities to consciously embracing change. As you take Stoicism into your life, remember that small actions, daily reflections, acts of patience, moments of courage, are what make the difference. These actions, repeated over time, help to transform our mindset and shape who we are. One day you might look back and realize that Stoicism has changed you in ways you never expected. You may find that you're calmer in the face of uncertainty, kinder to yourself and others, more focused on what matters and less affected by the things that once bothered you. You may notice that you're no longer seeking validation from outside sources, but are instead finding fulfillment from within. This is the gift of Stoicism, a path to inner strength and peace, not because life is easy, but because we've learned to navigate it with wisdom and resilience. As we part ways here, consider this an invitation to continue your Stoic journey with an open heart and mind. Keep exploring, keep practicing, and keep reflecting. Stoicism is not about reaching an endpoint. It's a continual process of growth, a mindset that evolves with us as we go through life's changes. You don't have to do it perfectly, just start, experiment, and find the practices that resonate with you. In time, you'll discover your own rhythm, and Stoicism will become a source of strength you can rely on, no matter what challenges arise. Thank you for being part of this journey. May the lessons of Stoicism bring you clarity, courage, and peace in every step you take forward. Remember, in the words of Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength,